All right. Good evening, good folks. How's it going this evening? This Saturday evening? I know some of y'all folks might be out and about. That's cool. You can always watch a replay. Yeah, you can always watch a replay. All right, all right. Give some folks some time to join in. Let me put this on the other side. Appreciate y'all joining in. Let's see who joins in with me this evening. Yes, sir. What's up, Leonard? What's up, brother-in-law? Yes, yeah. Appreciate you. What's up? I ain't gonna be too long tonight. I know it's Saturday night. Folks got some things probably popping off tonight. Just want to come on for a little bit. I got the IG live going and the YouTube live going, so you can join me on YouTube. Football recruiting 24_7. Or you can join me on my IG. Love the 27 game. Or you can go to my link tree and get all the connections. YouTube, IG, Twitter, GMB Sports, and Entertainment. Absolutely. So I'll just give a little time before I get started. Get some other folks, some time to join in a little bit. We had some great conversations past couple of lives, past couple of days. Just having some conversation, some great conversation. I think that first two nights ago we talked about the NIL and um, the transfer portal. Lane Kiffin made the news from his comments. We discussed that a little bit. And last night, had my buddy Jesse Humphrey, who was a JUCO All-American and a HBCU All-American wide receiver. Got in on a discussion on my IG live. Some great discussions, some things he shared. We'll be doing more of those kinds of things. But I'm working with a group of great content creators, a group that I'm involved with. We're doing our 30-day challenge, going live, sharing our wisdom and insight in the various spaces that we all are involved in and have experience in. And so I think I'm on day 12 or 13 of our 30-day live. I think we're all around about that same, about halfway through. And I'll be coming up on sharing some things on how you'll be able to partner with Love the Game 24/7 in GMB Sports. What we're going to be doing with our junior high and high school um, program that we're going to be doing, helping student athletes starting at the middle school age and all the way up through high school and possibly even beyond. So I'll be sharing as I'm putting things together. I'll be sharing more and more about that news during this 30-day live challenge that we have going to help parents and their student athletes progress in whatever sport they're participating in. I'll mainly be coming from the football perspective as a former um, football and track and field athlete. Um, and so just want to give some more people a little time to get on here. And but yeah, if you haven't had a chance to see some other things that I've been putting out, you can, like I said, you can go and like, share, follow, subscribe. If you're on my YouTube live, hit that subscribe button on the left. Definitely would love for you to join me on my YouTube live. Um, Eventually, I'll work on doing some Facebook live as well. Um, I'll be getting that pumped up as well, trying to do all of it. Um, but appreciate you guys joining. Matthew, appreciate you popping in. But definitely be sure to subscribe to my YouTube, Football Recruiting 24_7. And you can also join my Facebook page, and that is Love the Game 24/7. Because that's what we're all about. Is you got to love the game 24/7. It means you got to be putting in time, got to be putting in work. Um, I shared when I first started this 30-day challenge, I shared my driven concept, my driven method. Um, I put that together from my own personal experience, and I used that for both my sons to be sure that I got them situated, got them opportunities to get scholarships, whether it was academics and athletics. My younger son took the academic route. My oldest son took the athletic route. But that driven method, get on YouTube and go see that driven method that I shared. That every student athlete should be following, and parents being involved. It's a great concept, 6-step method, a driven acronym. Get out there and go see that, go watch that, go replay it. But what I'm looking to do is, I'll go ahead and get started and just share a little bit about who I am for those who may be joining this your first time and you haven't had a chance to be on before tonight. This is your first time. I'm Coach Smith, and I've been around the game of football and track or sports in general, but definitely football since the age of 7. And I played every year, from the age of 7 years old until I was 28 when I decided to hang my cleats up from trying to play pro sports. Um, so I had all those years from the age of 7 until I was 28 years old as a player. And then after I stopped playing, um, I started doing camps. Before all these camp things got big like they are now, I was doing that years ago in the early 90s before all this stuff started blowing up with kids doing, camps and all these things. At that time, it was mainly colleges and universities that were doing camps. It wasn't, like the Nike camps and all that stuff. I was doing all that stuff in the early 90s before any of those things really were happening. Because I wanted to teach young student athletes because of what I went through and not having a coach, having a single mom who didn't know anything about recruiting and pretty much doing all this stuff on my own as a young um, teenager, and learning from what my older brothers didn't do, even though they were blessed to get athletic scholarships. Both my older brothers, one older brother was a shot put and discus thrower, and he got a full scholarship for track and field at Liberty Baptist at the time, Liberty University, Liberty Baptist. And then I went on to play with my other older brother in college at Division II Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa. Um, the old North Central Conference, NCC, with North Dakota State, and all those schools, North Dakota, South Dakota State, all those schools. But yeah, so I've been around this game since the age of 7, and from St. Petersburg, Florida. Grew up in South St. Pete, Lakewood High School, the Spartans. If you don't know, now you know. Um, but there's a lot of great players that have come out of that county, out of that city, out of that high school alone. Not just Florida, but I know South Florida. They always talk about Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, they got ballers, but I tell you right now, that area where I came out of, where I raised my boys, is hands down. We can run with the best of them. You look around pretty much right about now on some major colleges, you're going to see some kids from Pinellas County, the city of St. Pete, and those various high schools around there, and you're definitely going to see them from Lakewood High School. And you're going to see them from CCC, where I coached for about 9 years, 8 or 9 years. My first coach over 10 years in high school sports. And then I did after coaching. Hey, Hope, appreciate you joining in. One of my content creator sisters on doing our 30-day challenge. Um, and But yeah, so in the area where I grew up, being from Florida, yeah, of course that weather allows us, to be able to uh, train all year round. Um, just being in the South, period. Um, but we have a reputation. There's a lot of guys right now you may not know. Um, as like my son being from St. Pete that plays pro ball, but also um, you got Marquez Valdez. Current players. There's a lot of past ones. Like William Floyd and Tom Carter and Pat Terrell, Ernest Givens, Tron Armstrong. There's so many that I can name from my hometown, from my high school alone. So I grew up watching, especially some of the older guys, the Tron Armstrongs and the Ernest Givens and the Richard Barkley's, great tight end. Um, Learned a lot from watching those guys, all these guys growing up from my high school, from my area. Um, I mean, the kind of talent that I got to grow up around and see and watch and learn from was amazing. Um, and those guys really did put back into us because during the summer times, when anytime those guys were home, um, during the summers, during the off season, you can best believe you could go to our high school and you're gonna see, those guys, and they were gonna be making sure they spoke into all of us young guys' lives, telling us what we needed to do because we didn't have a high school coach that was helping us. But whenever those guys could spit some knowledge to us, give us some wisdom about what we needed to do to help ourselves get recruited, they did that. They would get us on the field, and show us things that they were doing in college and learning, trying to be sure that we got out of St. Pete and gave ourselves an opportunity to go off to school. That's what those guys did. I don't see a whole lot of that today, but when I grew up, I could always go to my high school. There was various high schools we could have gone to, whether it was shooting basketball or football, and even playing some baseball. Um, I could always, hey Queen, and this my picture. Hey, what's up? Glad you guys can join. Um, but yeah, I could just tell you when I grew up um, playing, all those guys would speaking to us. Like I said, the Richard Barkleys, the Tron Armstrongs, the Ernest Givens, I mean, you name it. Any guys that were off in college, even like my brother and those guys, everybody met back at the high school every summer, even during the holidays if somebody was home. But every summer you can best believe um, Coach Kravitz, who coached with Coach Lovett at University of South Florida when they started University of South Florida football program in Tampa. Coach Kravitz was our high school coach, who went on to coach major college football. Um, and he started out coaching at FAMU, but he would always open up the gym. He was the girls' head basketball coach, and he was the D coordinator at our high school. But he would always open that gym up during the holidays and during the Christmas break. Yep, those yeah, absolutely. You know that's right. They were some hot practices, but he would always open that gym, even the gym. Sometimes that AC wouldn't be on the gym, but we ran some games in that gym under Coach Kravis, and we would also be out there on that football field. I mean, yeah, the Warren McGarras, his older brother George McGarra. Um, these guys, man, they would come and they didn't take it easy on us young guys. They wanted to be sure that we represented where we were from, what high school we were from, what city we were from. And they made sure they spoke into our lives and told us, because like I said, we didn't have a high school coach that was helping us, and they knew that, and they would tell us, hey, this coach ain't helping you, but this is what you need to do. This is how you need to prepare yourself. And so that's what I was going to speak on tonight to, some of you student athletes and your parents. Are you ready for the 23-24 season? You need to be careful. Yes, sir. The Spartans, Lakewood Spartans, we loaded with talent. You know, um, the Griffin twins, the one athlete that had his hand missing, that was a real good ball player, and his brother, both Shaquille and Shaquille and Griffin, the twins. Um, those boys, good ball players. Um, like I said, Marquez Valdez, my son Jeff Smith, the second. Yeah, Rodney Adams. I mean, there's a ton of guys. But during my time, you had Pat Terrell. You had my brother who was playing, had opportunity to play with the Bucks when he came out and played in Canada. You had Pat Terrell who played at Notre Dame during those uh, the Holy Wars with Miami and Notre Dame. And then following them were William Floyd and TC Tom Carter. Then you also had Tim Carter, who was some years later, because Tom Carter and myself, we had the high school record in the 100 meters when they moved from yards to 100 meters. He and I both ran 10.8 flat. I did that my junior year. He did it his senior year, tied my record. And then his cousin, some years later, came along. Tim Carter came along and broke the record running 10.3, 10.2, 10.3, 10.2. He was crazy fast. But the thing is, those guys would come back to the high school and speak into our lives and tell us what we need to do in the summer, you know. And like we got this heat wave going on. Make sure your kids are hydrated, every night before they go out there and the day of when they go out there and train. Make sure they're ready to have a good season, But like I said, I don't know if they do those things today like I did growing up, but you can always count on those older guys, man, that will come back and tell us, you know, how to navigate through this recruiting process. You know, yeah, I see you a forced football mom. Oh yeah, and hey, you're gonna get all the help from Love the Game 247. That's for sure. And GMB Sports, sports agency, yeah, entertainment, and we're partnering up, and I'll be talking more about that. Um, but yeah, so like I said, these summer times we need to start speaking into our kids like, hey, you need to get to your high school, speak to those young guys, speaking to their lives, making sure you're ready for your upcoming season. Are you trained? Are you focused? Because what you do consistently, when you do something consistent, every day, just like I'm trying to do this 30-day live, as I'm getting more and more comfortable with being uncomfortable, it becomes a habit, it becomes a good habit, to help you with your success. So that's why it's very important, like another thing I just want to touch on too tonight about Are You Ready is like I know a lot of the kids do the 7-on-7 tournaments and all those things, and those things are good to do. There's some there, and the reason why I like some of those things because it fuels competition, it fuels their drive, right? Um, and Yep, that's right. This is my picture. They would freeze those gallons of water to bring to practice. That's right. Um, you know, and you got to make sure your kids prepared, and you got to do those things because I think a lot of people. I remember one time my head coach, he did those things because he knew the kids liked them, and he would ask me, my coach Davis back at Cloverwater Central Catholic. I know he would grump on it sometimes, but he knew it was some positives out of it too. He didn't just totally care about it. He just didn't want to risk some of the kids sometimes maybe getting hurt or anything like that. But then after he and I sat down and talked, I said, Coach, one reason why I think it helps because you always gonna have to go in Florida if you're gonna win a state championship. You got to go through South Florida. You got to go through Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or North Florida, Jacksonville area, and then maybe some of those in between little country towns in Florida. But if you're going to win a state championship, you got to, and what better way to make sure you get your kids an opportunity to go to these camps and these 7-on-7 tournaments where you see those kids from Miami, you see those kids from Jacksonville, North Florida, whatever state you in, where there's certain parts of every state where your some football players come out of. Everybody has that. There's certain areas where we're all from, and you can say, oh yeah, that part of town or that part of the state, man, they breed football. They got some of the best high school, whatever the case. And so that's why I think these camps like that, outside from the college camps, and I let my son do some of that because he was a quarterback. Because now you're helping him learn how to purely read defenses as a quarterback, and also you're helping your receivers read and understand what cover three, cover two, zone, man, you know, um, nickel and dime coverage. These guys can pick up on these things, and become and when it's really time to put the pads on, they've had that time during the summers of preparing, and studying, watching video, getting on the field, getting in shape, physically lifting their weights and all that. But those 7-on-7 tournaments and things like that will help those kids not feel because they see these guys and say, "Oh man, I remember, we get in the if during the season we get in the game and have to play them during regular season, or we get to the playoffs and we play this team that we played from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or Jacksonville that we saw, doing 7-on-7 tournaments at these colleges. Now your kids can say like, okay, well, I ain't so intimidated because we balled against them in 7-on-7 drills and tournaments. I'm familiar with them because you got to get some familiarity. You got to spur in that competition. So sometimes these things can work in your favor and not necessarily against you. Of course, you don't want to risk your kids getting hurt, and so but you can't be worried about that. They got to get prepared. You know, sometimes because you've done your preparation, you can prevent injury as well as more than I think cause injury. Um, and so you get your kids the opportunity to be able to see and play against some of these kids from certain areas. But like I said, in Florida, you got to go through Miami and Fort Lauderdale. You got to go through South Florida. I mean, it's just more people down there. A lot of talent down there. Same thing with our Jacksonville. Even in Tallahassee area somewhat. But so when you have these opportunities to travel and go to some of these, to colleges, state schools in your area, you get your kids an opportunity to, not to be so intimidated when they have to put on the pads because they can say, oh, yeah, I remember seeing this guy. Yeah, they were good, but we matched up real good with them during the 7-on-7 tournaments and things that we went to. And so when the season starts and we got to meet these guys later on, your kids can build off, hey, what they remember. It's not that these guys aren't good, because they're gonna realize, hey, if we all made it to the playoffs, we all must be pretty good. And so you give your kids that opportunity to build some confidence in themselves and understand um, how to gel more and more as a team when they get to understand each other tendencies and I get to understand how as a quarterback how my receiver runs this route on this play. When we ran these plays during the summer on some of these tournaments, you know we start getting a feel for each other. We start building a good relationship with each other and understanding while we're out on that field. So I think those things are definitely a huge when you can get your kids. Um, Hello, J Lo 0730. Thanks for joining. Um, but yeah, so I definitely think that in this heat wave we got going on, you got to be sure your kids are hydrated. You got to be sure that your student athlete, um, is taking the opportunities, not just going to the college and university camps, 1 day camps, but get them involved in some 7-on-7s, especially if they're at the high school level and they're trying to get exposure. They're trying to learn the game. They're trying to be sure that they learn how to perform at a high level, right? Of competition, you know, and because that's what's so pure and lovely about this game is when you've put in the preparation, man. You get out there and you start having some success because the time that you and your teammates have put in. Um, yeah, exactly, man. Like you said, how can they thrive in positions other than their first choice, like Rondé versus T? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, but you got to give your kids opportunity to see what other talent is like um, out there, at their position. You got to let them go to some of these camps. You got to be sure that they do some of the 7-on-7 things of that nature. Um, flag football has its benefits, especially when you're trying to find out if you're a young student athlete um, wants to play that sport. Like I said, start them out doing some flag, 7-on-7 things like that playing. Um, I did that with my kids, and you know and those things work to help them your student athlete learn and figure some things out while dad and mom are there trying to encourage them, but it's definitely going to um um help them as you ask that question. This my picture about how can they thrive in positions other than their first choice. Sometimes like I said, when I started playing football, I was an offensive lineman when I was in 7 years old, 8 years old, but I ended up being a running back. um and because I love Walter Payton, Gail Sayers, you know growing up watching. My father used to tell me when I was younger, my father used to say this to me when I was a young kid playing, when I moved from playing offensive line to being a running back. um, he would tell me, you need to be a student of the game, and he would tell me you need to go watch when highlights of Walter Payton would come on, or Gail Sayers would come on, or Tony Dorsett. Those are some of my favorite running backs. Rocky Bleier with the Pittsburgh, because we were black and gold in my little league and high school teams, and I loved the Steelers before we had the Buccaneers in our area. So that was one of my favorite teams, them and the Miami Dolphins before the Bucks came to town. But my dad would tell me, he's like, look, son, when you have a chance, you need to go watch. That if that's the position that you're playing, you need to go watch the guys who were great at playing that position. You need to sit down and watch college football, you know. And so, I would take my time, like, I took that to heart. When my dad told me told me certain things, even my mom sometimes, but definitely my dad was my coach. When he told me there was things that I needed to do, I took those things to heart. And my dad would just tell me, go read a book about these guys. Sometimes there were autobiographies about a player that I liked. So, and my dad loved to read. So he was like, look, immerse yourself in a good sports book, you know, but it also helped me with my reading skills and understanding and whatnot. So he didn't push me from sports. He would just say, okay, if you want, you know, you don't like reading, but go read a book on one of your favorite sports stars, and read about them. And then if you get a chance to watch them play, you need to make sure you're watching. So if you want to get good at at playing that position as a running back, you need to go watch the guys that were considered the best at that position. You need to sit down on some Saturdays and not always be running out there in the street sometime, just, you know, I mean, now granted, we were playing, mostly sports and hanging out, which are good things too. But he just said sometimes, hey, get up and watch some of those guys that you like when they show highlights of these players. Um, and so, I did that absolutely. Two birds with one stone. And so those are some things that I took to heart that my father shared with me when I was very young, and and I just fell in love. I remember at a young age, a very young age, I fell in love. Um, yeah, I fell in love with the game and them streets. That's right, Hope. And I learned a lot in them streets about the game as well. With some, playing with my friends and older brothers, and trust me, it built it that helped push and spurn my competition, level to just rise, because your big brother always trying to, always beating you, and then the first chance you get to, you get to a certain age and you can beat your older brother, or match up with them and give them a harder time now because you're a little bit older and you know a little bit better, you know a little bit more, um, and like I said, I would watch my older brothers as well. I learned stuff. Um, um, so, but definitely, you know, you got to be sure that your student athlete is ready and prepared for this season. For those ones who are at the high school level, it's very important, for you um, to understand that those are some ways that you can help your student athlete, and give them some advice if they got a love for the game. Be sure that you do, you kind of help encourage them to do that, and to get out there and do some of these camps, and also to not be afraid of competition, not being afraid of stepping up, and and definitely, yeah, that's right. You learn a lot about, from watching other players that are good, even when you go to these camps, whether it be the college camps or the 7-on-7 tournaments. Sometimes you watch and see other players, and you can pick up on some things from each other. Um, I took advantage of that as well, and telling my son some of those same things, like, man, look, you can learn a lot from some other guys. Some of these other guys, I know he would follow some other players that were older than him that were being heavily recruited as a quarterback when he was a quarterback. And sometimes he would show, oh, dad, check out so-and-so, so-and-so. Tim Tebow was one of his favorites. Michael Vick was another one of his favorites growing up, when he was growing up as playing quarterback. So those are some of his favorite players, and I made sure to get stuff about those guys, to him, and also taking him to camp at University of Florida to say, hey, yeah, this is where Tim Tebow used to roam, brother. You get a chance to walk on the same football field, practice field Tim Tebow used to play on. So when he was, eighth grade kid, and having that opportunity, that was just like blowing his mind, that he has the opportunity to step on the same field as some of these guys that he looked up to as he was growing up, and taking them to camps and doing that. But definitely, you can learn a lot from watching other people, your peers, or your older, somewhat older peers, especially if they play that same position that you play. You can pick up a lot of good techniques and forms or things that you need to go back and work on. Also, that spurs your competition. But definitely, we want to be sure that our kids are in shape mentally, as well, physically. Like I said, this summer heat wave going on, hydration, but we definitely want to be sure that we take everything that they're in shape in every way, you know, mentally, definitely. Get some mental. My son is texting me while I'm on my live. Hold on. He's trying to give me some input as always, and I take his input. You know, if you guys don't know, some of you might be familiar with my daughter-in-law, the real Kim, KYM. If you're not, check her out. She's a sharp young lady in this content creation world. So I take pointers from my daughter-in-law, my son, all the time. From both my sons, they give me pointers. They're helping dad out as I turn over this new leaf, coaching online. Coaching student athletes and parents online. Um, but so I definitely appreciate his advice that he always gives me, and my daughter-in-law and my other son as well. But I just wanted to come on just a little bit tonight and just share, just make sure your student athlete is healthy, and not just the physical, but definitely the mental, spiritual, all that. You know, I'm a firm believer. I'm a person of faith, and it tells me to, train up a child in the way they should go. And that's how I was taught by my parents. They trained us up. I'm training up mine, and yep, Papa G, yep, yep, yeah, he did. He definitely was special, and definitely, you know, we have a part that we need to play. We have to do our best to try to help our student athletes, help our children find their way, and we need to make sure they're healthy as much as possible in every way, you know. And you got to be sure as well, wherever your student athlete is playing, that they have healthy coaches. They got coaches that are in that have that same mindset. I know there's some coaches that can yell and scream and holler and all those things. Um, my son, his coach where I coached, Coach David. Oh yeah, he yelled and screamed, but those kids knew that he cared about them. They knew, those kids knew he loved them. And I'm gonna tell you why they knew that, because he would say it sometimes. Even when he yelled and screamed and got on them, and he would tell them, "Yeah, the reason why I'm yelling and screaming at you is because I know you can do better. I know there's more in you than what you're showing right now." So they knew that, and so you want to be sure you got your student athlete in a healthy place, that can help teach them and grow them, outside from you as parents. You want to be sure that you take every advantage of, especially before your student athlete gets in high school. You want to be sure you take time and start figuring out what high schools in your area, you know, not just because they got a well-known program, athletic program that does help, and they're great for a reason, but you want to just put them or stick them anywhere. You want to be sure that we grow and nurture and, some healthy young people, our young boys and girls who are student athletes or whatever they may be doing. We want to make sure we have healthy kids. There's a lot of stuff going on today, and we want to be sure we give our kids every opportunity to be great. You know, and I'm always a person. I don't get caught up with race or color. Anybody come wants to learn and they're willing to learn. I'm open to help anybody. I don't care who they are. You know, or what they look like, or what color they are, or even what their beliefs are. I know what mine are, but I'm gonna do everything I can in my power. That if you give, you trust me to help coach your student athlete, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure I tell them right. Um, it's gonna help them, be successful in what they're pursuing. If I'm coaching them, so. But definitely, we want to be sure that our student athletes are healthy all the way around. You know, we don't want to take that for granted, and we don't want to just let anybody. And that was like I said, that was one reason why I got into coaching after what I experienced growing up and not having a coach, um, who a head coach. I'm speaking of not some. We had some assistant coaches, and thank God we had some of the assistant coaches that we had. In dealing with some of the lack of what our head coach growing up didn't have. We had some great young men and some young ladies in some of the other sports that I participated in with track that definitely were a huge blessing to have. And when I at my time growing up, but um, they took up for where our head football coach didn't do a good job of, and doing everything they could to help us get in school. But like I said, you got to understand these rules, these NCAA rules. When these college recruiters come around, they're coming in to talk to the head coach, and that's who they're going to listen to first and foremost. There's some of them, if they're smart enough for a recruiter, because these recruiters are trying to keep their job in college, so they want some good. They know they need some great players, some very good competitors, and so you want to be sure that you you know do everything you can and be sure your student athlete or your student is in a healthy program. And even when they decide to go to college at the next level, you want to be sure, even though it's their decision, you want to make sure you teach them on how to make a healthy choice, a healthy decision about where they're choosing to go spend the next 4 years, maybe 5 years, of their lives. And you want to be sure that they are in a healthy place, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Um, and that goes for the same thing for the high school. So for you young parents that don't know where your kids are in high school, be sure you take that time to start assessing. Because I did that. Me and my wife, we did those things. Um, and eventually, I'm gonna have an opportunity when as we get going here with some of these other things we're gonna be offering and putting out what we're gonna be doing. I'm definitely gonna have my wife and some other moms to come on here to talk to some of you moms and dads, about what it is to be in that position as, from when they were playing little league, when they were in high school, going through the recruiting process, when they were in college playing, and now my wife having the blessing and I having the blessing being able to, have one of our blessing of having our one son, you know, get his dream of playing pro ball and doing that. And so, gonna have it from a mother's or a female's perspective that has been that has gone through this. Um, so yeah, we got a lot of stuff, I got a lot of ideas and things to help, um, you know, give you, spreading some wisdom and knowledge and helping through this process and how to get going. So I definitely, appreciate you guys joining me tonight on this as I continue to do my 30-day challenge. Please, um, please be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe. All right, replay. Share this um, video with people you know. I appreciate each and every one of you every time you get on. But trust me, when you come on here with Coach Smith, I'm dropping some knowledge. I'm giving you some good talk. And if you do have some questions, you're fine to ask some questions. I'll do my best to answer them. But trust me, when you get on here with Coach Smith, I'm gonna be dropping some knowledge about this process because there's some things out there that some people don't tell you, or you have to learn the hard way. And I don't want you to learn the hard way. But when you get on here with Love the Game 24/7 with Coach Smith, um, you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna get all the smoke. Trust me, I'm gonna bring all the smoke, because I know from what I experienced. God took me through what He took me through, in my walk, so I could be with you here today, getting started with being comfortable with being uncomfortable, so I can talk and share and pass on some knowledge, because we got a lot of great future student athletes out there that deserve an opportunity to play college sports at some level somewhere. They deserve it, and I'm going to do everything in my power to help give you and pass on what I know. I don't know everything, but I know I know something that can help you, but I know I don't know everything. But I love this game 24/7. I love that game 24/7, and it has done me a great service. Um, and so when you put in that kind of love to something, it'll bless you back. And it definitely has blessed me back. So I appreciate you guys joining me this evening. I'm going to be back again tomorrow, dropping some more great talk and conversation about student athletes getting to the next level and how to make it happen. So I appreciate you. You guys have a great weekend. Have a great evening. Um, until we see each other again, have a blessed day. Stay safe, and stay hydrated. I know that heat wave is out here. Y'all better stick. You better drink up. And look here. I got mine right here. Got my ice water right here. Trying to stay in shape. But yes, I appreciate you guys and take care.